Hello, Zoe.
Hello.
Hi, Jesse.
Hi there.
Okay, we're gonna wait for people to show up. We will get started at 5:35. Alrighty, we're gonna get started. Welcome to CS 107. This is a summer session. We were covering the same content that we covered in a normal semester of CS 107. It'll be a little bit faster. Thank you to everyone who did some of the pre-work that I asked for, so we can maximize our time together. I saw from the pre-surveys, I think there's 16 people registered for this class, and 16 people did the pre-survey. So I think we're in really good shape there. If you haven't done that already, it'd be great if you could. It's on Canvas and it's in a couple emails that I sent. So another thing we'll be doing today is signing up for a Thunkable if you haven't already done that. And it would be great if you could join our code.org classroom. We'll be doing some basic coding practice there. So those things are in an email or a couple emails that I sent over the last week. They're also on Canvas, and we will get started. My name is Andrew Rothman. I'm the instructor for this course. I've taught it for a lot of years. There's a TA for this course, Natalia Garcia. I believe this is her third time TAing for this course, and she was a student in this course. It seems like a long time ago. Alrighty, so again, this is CS 107. This is our first class. It'll mainly serve as an introduction to the course. We'll get Thunkable set up and build some tutorial apps tonight. So we'll get right into the app building, and we will, we'll be seeing a lot of each other, seems like. So today, I want to give clarity on the content and expectations, so you have an idea how this class will work. Make sure to get Thunkable set up. Today we'll be doing tutorials so you can get a feel for the Thunkable coding environment. And lastly, important part is we'll show you how to submit work for this class. A question people often ask about this class: do you need to have taken a previous CS class? The answer is a resounding no. This is meant as a sort of a gentle introduction to computer science. It's people take this class for a variety of reasons. So some people are here to get to do the B1 university requirement. Some people are CS minors. Some people are CS majors. It's common for CS majors to take this course as sort of an intro. Sometimes people have to fill a calculus requirement and they take it. Some people just take it for personal interest, and that's awesome. So the goal of this class is to take someone who has no computer experience with computer science, no experience with programming or coding, and it's sort of meant to be like a soft introduction into the world of computer science through the lens of programming and coding. And my goal is that by the end of this class, you should be ready to take CS 110. If whether you were planning on taking it or not, I want to make sure you have all the background information necessary, enough experience, enough practice that you can ultimately move into CS 110. Again, no prior prerequisites and no coding experience, and understood that people are coming in at different levels. This class is intended, the way I would put it, is it has a low floor, meaning anyone should be able to get in, and it has a high ceiling. So if you have more experience, you're more comfortable, you pick it up faster, and you can, there's opportunities to be challenged and apply your knowledge at a higher level. All righty. So again, there's a number of reasons why people take this class. It's an introduction, count scored B1, CS minor, a lot of CS majors take it. I would say generally it's a broad exposure to software development. And the cool thing about this class is you build stuff. We build stuff every class. We're building apps that you can test on your phone and share with your friends, and that works. So it's not just sort of coding in some matrix-like screen. You're actually building something, applying the concepts within an app, and you can do stuff with it. I like to think it's pretty neat. So I'm Andrew Rothman. I'm a San Francisco native, though I guess doing this virtually means a little less, but I guess we to understand we have 4 or 5 people from the international cohort. So we've got a lot of different people from a lot of different places. I did grow up in San Francisco. I've lived a lot of places, including New Orleans, New York, East Africa, and the Middle East. When I was a long time ago, I was not a teacher or a professor. I actually worked at a FedEx terminal outside of Boston. And I have a day job, which is with the school district here in San Francisco. I write computer science curriculum, and at night I teach at USF. Sort of the way it broke down. Our TA, as I mentioned before, is Natalia Garcia. Natalia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Natalia. I'm going to be senior. I'm a sociology major and a legal studies minor, and I plan to attend law school after I finish at USF.
So Natalia knows this class really well, and what's cool about that is if you need help, this is a course where we're offering a lot of help. Everyone, unfortunately, if you do great in this class, it's not a guarantee of a job at Google. But on the other side, this is a class where people generally do very well, and it's not intended to be a course where you're frustrated by your grades. This is a class where people are meant to foster success. So we are here to help, and just know if you need help, you can ask me, you can ask Natalia, and we're both pretty versed in this curriculum. With that, I like to start things off usually with a corny joke because computer science should not feel that serious. Oftentimes it does. This class should feel like something that's accessible and kind of fun. So we'll start off with a joke. You can call it out and put your answer in the chat. There's no points for right answers, but I will acknowledge that you may have a great sense of humor if you happen to know what has 4 wheels and flies. What could that be? I don't know. You can call it out or put it in the chat. 4 wheels and flies. All righty. Folks, it's a garbage truck. 4 wheels, flies, anyway. All righty. Oh, did someone put it in the chat? I'm sorry. Let me check the chat here. Okay, 2 people got it. Credit to Ava. Is it Ava or
It's Ava.
got Ava and Jesse also got it. Credit. Okay, we got some comedians here. That's good. All righty. So I showed this visual and I want to this is a little bit about my teaching philosophy. I think that the most learning comes when you are pushed in a supported way. So if you're doing things that you already know how to do, that there's no real challenge to it, that you don't have to make yourself vulnerable to do it, there's no risk of getting anything wrong. If you're doing those type of activities, we might call it the comfort zone. And I'm going to suggest to you that there's not a lot of new learning that goes on there. Where you want to be is in a stretch zone, so that there is some risk inherent in attempting a task, the risk being you might get it wrong. And fundamental to computer science is you're going to get things wrong a lot more often than you're going to get them right. You just sort of have to, it's a process of getting comfortable with trying and trying and trying, identifying little changes, implementing a change, testing it. What's so cool about computer science is we have this amazing platform for testing things, and we can keep testing and testing and testing to see if the logic is right. Where I do not want to push you is what we might call the red zone here, or the stress zone. And that happens when either there's too much content being thrown at you, or maybe you're not having the best day. And over the course of the last 15 months, I think the reality is a lot of us have not had our best days. So I don't want to put you there, because when people are too stressed out to engage in the work, you have a negative experience, you're not going to learn, and you might pull away from the class. That's what I want to avoid. So this class is intended to push you into the stretch zone. You should be introduced to new things every class period that you will have to then apply. You're probably not going to get it right the first time, which is inherent to computer science. But I just put this out there, if you're having a day or a week or a month and a class period doesn't feel good and you don't feel like being here, I would ask that you communicate with me and keep an open line of communication about what's going on. Hey, professor, I need to take a step back today. I need to miss today's class. It's totally fine with me. I understand quite a bit has happened in the last 15 months in the world, and not every day is going to be everyone's best day. That's totally human and understandable, and it's all good. So my goal is to push you in the stretch zone. Sometimes that may not be where you're at. So please do communicate with me, and I think we can be really flexible with how this class is run on an individual basis. Along with that, something so we're building apps in this class, and there are some basic, guidelines and some basic expectations to apps, but I'm hoping that what you get out of this class is more along the lines of the process of thinking about computer science and approaching apps, and less concerned with a perfect final product. You probably have a mobile device of some sort, maybe an Android device, maybe an iPhone. You'll notice every week or day even, they're sending you notifications that there's a new version of the app to download. That's because apps are never finished. There's always a new version. There's always a new application. There's always a new tool or part of it that the designers think will be appealing to you, the user. And so apps are never done. They're always being updated and upgraded. It's like an iterative, ongoing process. It's not about a final project or a perfect final product. It's about a process of improving. That's inherent to computer science. So I guess do keep that in mind as we move forward. So let me get into this class. It's a funny time. I'm so glad you guys are able to make it, but 5:30 to approximately 9 on the West Coast. And I know some of you guys are not on the West Coast. So that's not the best, but I am so glad you're here. That said, every class the way I designed this class is the goal is to get all the work for anything that's been designed in that class period is meant to be done in that class period. In a normal class, I don't really want to talk more than 15 or 20. I mean, if I'm talking 20 minutes, I've talked too much. Let's just put it that way. Today will be a little different because we got to do all the framing, but this class is meant that I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you a concept or an idea. Most of the class period should be spent working. And so my goal, or the way this class should work most of the time, is whatever was assigned for that class period should be done by the end of the class period. Natalia and I ran this course in the winter, over like winter intersession, and we were generally out in less than 2.5 hours. So I think if we're all focused and on top of things, I would expect us to be out of here by 8:30 most nights. That said, if you do need to meet up, if there's something that if you want to meet, I'm pretty flexible and pretty available. So feel free to email me, but we're not going to have set office hours for this class because hopefully all the work gets done in class. And if you need to meet up for questions or whatever, totally available, but it doesn't really make sense for me to have set office hours, I don't think, but maybe you feel differently. You can give feedback on it. It's totally fine. That said, a little bit about the grading in this class. Basically breaks down. I put a little more weight on the apps just because I think you're building something that's cool, but there's like a variety of different activities which we categorize as coding practice, and that may be working in something like code.org, those type of things. We're going to use a platform called Blockly a couple times. I think I just have it slightly weighted towards apps, but the grading should be pretty straightforward in this class. It's really meant to be straightforward. There shouldn't be any complications. I do ask, there's a weekly survey on basic feedback. We've, like I sort of mentioned, I think this is my 8th semester or 8th time teaching this class. And so we do surveys, and it's just really valuable to get your feedback. So some things that, I mean, maybe you just point out something that I missed or just missed in the curriculum. There's an error on a handout. Those kind of things are extremely valuable to get feedback on. I intend for this class to run really smoothly. And so for you to point out things to improve helps me greatly. And of course, positive feedback feels really good, but it doesn't really improve the class. It's the more critical feedback, the more focused feedback, which actually forces me to make changes. So, we'll talk about that at the end of the week. With that, I'm aware that some people are taking this for a CS minor, and I don't think anyone is a CS major here, but if you maybe you get inspired to be a CS major, that's cool too. There is more, if you have more computer science experience and you want something more challenging, there are going to be assigned like coding challenges in code.org, which it's harder than you think for what it's worth. But if you're ready to jump into Python, I also teach CS 110. And so if you wanted to get started in CS 110 class, like content instead, I'm fine with that. We can, communicate with me and we can switch up assignments. You don't have to do the same thing as everyone else if you want something more challenging. And that said, if you want to just see what CS 110 looks like, you're also welcome to join that. It's a platform called CodeHS. I put my curriculum up there, and you want to check it out and see what it looks like, you're totally fine. If you want to see what the next level looks like or what you should be building to, that is an open invitation. It's not at all required, but it may be of interest to you. This class used to use a platform called App Inventor, which is a really cool thing. But the downside of App Inventor is it requires an Android device, which, to be honest with you, not a lot of people have. So I have my own class set. And so when we're in person, it was very easy to just, borrow an Android device from me. But really luckily for everybody, there's I would say an improved version of App Inventor. It's called Thunkable. So it's from the same lab at MIT that App Inventor came out of. It's sort of like the same people. It's a enterprise version, so it does at some point cost to use it. But the good thing is we don't need Android devices anymore. In addition to that, we don't use a book, though a lot of this content is built off of a Thunkable curriculum book that another USF professor, Dave Wolber, wrote. So, but you're not required to pick it up. But that book does exist. You can just Google Dave Wolber if you're looking for it, but it's not required for this class. So we mentioned that so you can, there is like a basic version of Thunkable, free account. It allows for 10 projects. There's like 20 to 25 projects in this course. So Thunkable generally costs like, I think $25 a month, but they gave us a special deal. And so that the code, the link and the code for that deal is in the emails that I sent. You can also find it on Canvas at the top-ish area. So it's $25. I think it's I think it's reasonable. If it doesn't work for you for one reason or other, you can contact me. We can figure something out. But I think having the pro account, it's worth it, and it just will make this class a lot smoother. Alrighty, and so that you'll see something on Canvas, and it looks like this. You need to sign up for a Thunkable account first, so you should sign up and get a free account, and then this. Actually, the link is on Canvas, and I believe it's in the emails I sent. You'll enter the class code, and then it'll upgrade your account for you. Alrighty, so in the vein of like having this class be, I keep using this word iterative. That means something that's constantly like intended to be changed, or like making incremental changes to. There's not like a late work policy here, especially in this. That, you know, there's a couple things about this class. One is it's a very short class, so falling behind will make things complicated. Number two, I designed the class so that we should be able to get all work done. Like the vast majority of work should be able to get done in one class period. So I don't anticipate there being a lot of late work. If stuff does need to come in late, I'm not too worried about it. It's, you know, life's, like I said, last 15 months have been kind of a pain. So I think definitely try to err on the side of being more flexible. So there's no penalty to turning things in late. I hope that I think for the value of this class, and especially fast class, is to keep up with it. But you know, if you don't get something in the day that I assign it, it's okay. I have the assignment set at each Sunday just because it represents the end of a week, and I think that would be a good goal for everybody to keep up with the pace of the class. But if it doesn't happen that way for one reason or another, we're not going to dock you points. You can turn things in late. You can, in particular, you might get some feedback on apps that you missed you might have missed a piece of an app, or there's room for improvement on an app. I want you to feel like you can resubmit for a higher grade. So not really worried about things coming in late. And in addition, you can resubmit work that if you didn't get the score that you wanted, you can resubmit. And so we're pretty flexible on that type of thing. I would ask that if you need a grade adjustment, if you would communicate with Natalia before or after class. I know that she's available by email as well. These are just leave it at that. That's the way that I'm hoping that we move forward with late work and such. Alrighty. So the way this class works is generally I'm going to introduce you to a concept. I think tomorrow will be the first concept, like formalized concept, that I'll be introducing. Okay, let me take a step back. Computer science is computer science is an evolving curriculum area. It's becoming more and more important. I believe there's been a 300% increase in the amount of CS majors at USF in the last 5 years, which is like consistent with what you would expect. That computer science is becoming more of a sort of a mainstream thing that people need some basic knowledge of, which is why it's so cool that you're here. That said, the teaching of computer science, it's also evolving. And I will simply say there's no perfect way to do this. So while I really think the Thunkable coding platform is really cool, what you can't do in Thunkable is there's not a lot of practice problems. And so if I introduce a concept, instead of you like, it just doesn't, you were missing a step. If I said, here's a concept, now go apply this in an app, that would be really hard. So I have to like sort of weave together different platforms to give you what I believe is a good experience, where you introduce a concept, you get a chance to practice a concept, and then you apply the concept in a dynamic and meaningful way. So the way that will look is I'll introduce a concept, you'll do some coding practice relating to it, and then we'll get into apply it in building an app. And it will require that we switch platforms. This has gone pretty smoothly in the past, but just acknowledge that it would be ideal if everything was on one platform. And as best I know, that doesn't exist at this point. So I think this is probably the smoothest way we can go about it to make sure you get the chance to practice concepts before actually being asked to apply them. So the coding practice. I'm sorry I didn't make this clear enough. I realized I should have done a better job of it in the emails that I sent. And that is, we're not going to do all the code.org lessons. And there's specific lessons that align with concepts that those are the ones that I'd like us to do. So if you are inspired and you want to get ahead on some things, these are the express lessons that we're going to focus on. I think conditionals and variables are up on Canvas. I don't think I put the functions like assignment up yet. or rather, I think functions comes next week, so you wouldn't have seen it yet. But these are the specific lessons that you're working through. And within each lesson, it's like there's levels, and you will not have to do all the levels. So I will make that clear as I'm assigning it, or hopefully in the assignment. Again, there's a differentiated option if you would like something, if you have more coding experience, if you've already taken a coding class in one form or another, and you feel like, this is not really, I'd like to see something a little more complicated, you're welcome to, we can come up with a course of action for you in using the CS 110 materials. That's totally fine with me. You'll just communicate with me, send me an email, we can work something out. Alrighty, let's talk about building apps. So I hope that's the fun part of this class, is learning some basic computer science concepts and actually building some cool stuff with it. So our first unit, I guess not really units, but like our first sort of organized concepts are around our first unit. We'll be focusing on a concept called events, and this is what we will call event-based programming. We'll build a couple apps based on like sort of an MP3 player concept. So you'll be able to upload audio files and put them in an app, and your app will play it. So like basically like a mini MP3 player. The second sort of set of activities focuses on conditionals and variables, which are like fundamental computer science concepts. So I think we're going to build 4 of those apps, and I believe this all will happen this week. So we've got a lot happening this week. We'll get through our first 2 units, but the third unit, it introduces the concept of functions or procedures, and it's sort of a game-based unit. So we'll also be doing some game elements early next week. We'll introduce another big unit. Will be focused on the idea of lists, which is a foundational data type, or data storage type that's in computer science. So you can store a bunch of data, and how do you interact with it? So we'll build a series of apps where you're storing information in a list. And then we will end the course with databases. So give you an introduction to databases and how you can connect them to an app. And by the end, what I'm hoping that number one, you'll be comfortable, have experience with the foundational computer science concepts. You would be ready to move on to CS 110 if you so chose. You feel like you would have the foundational knowledge. But I think most importantly, when you look at your phone and you look at the apps, what I hope you see is that there's these common elements to almost all apps. They're using the same 10 or 15 things over and over and over again. And what kind of takes an app from just like a basic clicker thing to something that becomes really dynamic is when you can connect your app to a database to start storing user information, storing and pulling information about your user. And so we just wrapped up this course, the semester-long version, and some of the, I think an insightful comment from a student was like, was making an app. He's like, this doesn't feel original at this point. I feel like I'm just sort of taking things that we've done. And I had to like stop the guy. I was like, hey man, that's the point. I want you to be able to look at apps, see 10 or 15 things that are like foundational to the way the apps work, and realize that that's on a base level. I mean, obviously there's some very nice user interface and animation things that can go on, but the actual functioning of the apps, almost all apps run on the same 10 or 15 basic concepts. By the end of the course, I'm hoping that you see that. You can look at an app and be like, okay, I get it. I see what's going on here, how they're moving between screens, or how they're saving your information or pulling your information from a database. It's all pretty consistent. And so hopefully by the end of our 14 sessions together, that is a place I'd like us to be able to look at an app and be like, okay, I see what all the components are here. I know how those interact. It's not rocket science. It's actually pretty basic. And yeah, that's it. That's where I'm hoping we get to by the end of this course. Let me back up for a second. So there's, that's not a really nice way to look at it. So what you'll find on Canvas is I built a curriculum site for this course. You'll reference it every day. So it's linked, all the app building assignments. When you see them on Canvas, they're linked to this site, which is bit.ly/CS107 USF. And the second part is, I think it's case sensitive. So if you're trying, I'll just put this in the chat if you want to go here on your own. And so all the curriculum specific to building apps is already here. So we'll start here today. But so tomorrow we'll be moving here, doing this app project. And so what you'll find on these curriculum sites is the slide deck will be basically the same slide deck as we're doing together, but it'll be stripped down. So obviously I've added a lot of things under the slide deck to contextualize it for this class. But in terms of the basic instructions, I don't think people really use these, but they are there. There's some basic instructions on the activity, but let me just note that I don't think this is the way to really this is not really the way to build the app. The important thing that you'll find on every single app is you'll find a handout. And so if you pop the handout out, this is the way that I think is the best way. When we get to the point, you'll build apps here. And so oftentimes there'll be a template. So I've already created something in Thunkable with a bunch of media uploaded probably. You can choose your challenge level. So if you want to do the basic app via a video tutorial, you can do that. If you want to build it by a step-by-step guide, you can do that. Or you can take the sort of the outcome of the goal and you can try to build it on your own, which would be challenging in the beginning, but some people do it. Yeah, I realized last semester that wasn't clear, but generally when we build apps, we'll be building it. There's the site and I'll refer you to it, but I think, and then there'll always be a handout. So there's sort of generalized instructions, but I think the most important part is the handout. Ava, what's up?
So, are we going to be graded on which challenge level we choose
Nope.
specifically?
Good question. It's all the same. So there's the baseline app that you can just build off the tutorial. That's a really good question. I'm not sure if I got to it in the slide deck, but I will answer it. There's a baseline app that you could get to by using the video tutorial, using the step-by-steps, or like just your knowledge of how the platform works. There's challenges which are expected, and that's when you're going to apply the larger computer science concept to the app, and those should be a bit more challenging. But those are expected. And then there's extra credit, which is not expected, which you might want to push yourself towards.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for asking. That's an important question. But again, this class is designed, like I said, with a low floor. So everyone should be able to basically get an A. If you participate and do the work, you should be able to get 90% or whatever. But if you choose to push yourself a bit more, you want to see some bigger things, that's in there. But everyone should be able to feel successful in this class. It's an important element of this class. All right, with that, why don't I pop back here? All righty, so checked out the curriculum site. On Canvas, there's a rubric. So the grading is transparent. You can get to this rubric on Canvas and you'll see exactly what I'm looking for or exactly what I'm grading on for each app. And if you submit an app and one part of this is not working, I think what Natalia does is she will write you a note and it'll be a very specific note about what element of the app is missing that you didn't get the points for. So if you want to fix those things and then resubmit, it should be very clear about what is missing. And the rubric is on Canvas. I believe it's if you go to modules, it should be in the top module. Yeah, that's how to get to it. I should make a note on Canvas. I copied this course, the Canvas frame, over from another semester that I taught this. And so if you're under assignments, there's probably a lot more assignments than are actually have been assigned for the first 5 classes, the modules for the first 5 classes. So I guess you could get a preview of all the other stuff that's going on, but I'm intending for you to use Canvas through the home or the module, though there will be things, I think there's things that are live under assignments. So I think you'll confuse yourself if you go to assignments. I would just look to see what's live under modules, but up to you how you want to approach that one. Talked a little bit about the surveys. So there'll be 4 surveys in this class. I think everyone's done the pre-survey, so kudos to you guys. There'll be a survey at the end of each week. It's a part of your coding practice grade. I find the feedback really valuable. Alrighty, with that, I'm gonna get us into Thunkable. Hope you guys are ready for this. Most of the time, as I said, this will not be so guided. I will not be talking as much, but we kind of need to just do this for the first day. So I'm gonna We're gonna watch a quick video tour of Thunkable, and then we're gonna just get into building apps. See what this guy has to say. Actually, I want to make it. Oh, hey, he's loud.
For just $67, you can make as many videos as you want. How to test your apps with your phone, you're going to really understand why we're using Thunkable for this class. Let's go ahead and get started. Once you log into Thunkable, you'll see this screen. What we want to do is start building. So I'm going to go ahead and click Start Building here. Now, you do not need to follow along because I'm just going to show you some stuff in this video. I'm going to title this one Example. Once we do that, we're going to get loaded into what I call the designer screen. So when you create a new project, you get into this screen right here. You can go ahead and close this sidebar. In this screen, we call this the designer. This is where you design what your app is going to look like. So in the center of the screen, you'll see that there is a phone screen. This is what your phone screen will look like once you code this. On the left-hand side, we've got two major areas. I like to start at the bottom because at the bottom is where you get to add components. Components are little tools that you can add into your app. These tools are things like buttons, labels, text inputs. Those are like text boxes, list viewers, web viewers, switches, sliders, and you name it. There are a lot of different components that you can use, including using the different sensors inside of your phone. To add components to your app, you can just drag them into the screen. So I'm going to drag a button in. Or you can add them in above here because at the top here is where all your components also live, and you can see which component is selected. Also, we've got a space here for invisible components. These are things like sounds that you can't really see, and we've got a space here for files that we can add, as well as data sources too. Now, once we have a component selected, we can see the properties for that component on the right-hand side. And as you can see, as I click on the component, the properties change. Screen 1 is a component that comes automatically with your apps, and this is where we can change background colors, we can put images, background images, we can change the alignment, we can make things scrollable or not scrollable. In the button components, we can go ahead and change background colors as well, the background picture, we can change the width, the height, we can make the font bold, we can do a lot of different things. And if we go to this button over here, we can rename the name of our button. So I can go ahead and call this one maybe bottom button. And now we'll see that over here, we've got button 1 and bottom button. Once we have this screen figured out, we can go ahead and go into our blocks section. And in the blocks, we can go ahead and do all the programming or code what should happen when we tap or do anything on our screen. So if I go to the blocks, we'll see that there are two major sections here. We've got these drawers, and these drawers are filled with what we call built-in blocks. And you can tell it's one of those built-in blocks because it has these colors next to it. For example, in the control drawer, we can see we have the if statements, we have loops, we have a lot of different options here. In the logic, we have equal signs, greater than, less than.
All right, I'm gonna stop him there because we're gonna. Why don't we do this ourselves? Let's build some apps, or let's get started with our app building adventure together. All right, thank you, sir. All right, so that's sort of a general overview of what happens, or rather what goes on or in the Thunkable platform. Just to reiterate, sort of the key things that I think are worth knowing is you sort of have this design screen, and that's where you're going to design the user interface for your app. And what you'll see on the upper left is what we might call the app tree or the component tree. Here are all the different like buttons and rows and labels and all the things that you're going to use for designing your app. That'll be accessible up here. There's an add components area where you can identify the component that you want to use. And you end up dragging it onto your screen facsimile here. And for each element or component that you have added, you can modify it or customize it through the properties panel, and each component will have its own properties. The second part, and you can toggle from up here. So there's a design screen and there's a block screen, and the block screen is where we'll actually do the programming of how the app should run. So there's the design screen and the block screen. Alrighty, so where are we at now? Just a quick heads up. So there's video. So today is like tutorial apps just to get you comfortable with the Thunkable platform. So each app will have a video tutorial. You can, I mean, I'm sure you're already aware of these features in YouTube, but you can change the speed if the person's going too slow. You can obviously pause it if like they did an action and you want to be able to copy the action, just pause it. If you prefer to learn in a different language, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but you can set the subtitles to different languages. So there could be subtitles, and if you wanted to learn in a different way, it is doable. And those are, I think, useful things about YouTube generally. We're trying to learn off of YouTube videos. I guess we've been doing this distancing for about 15 months now, so you probably figured this out. But oftentimes, what I think really helps if you're doing these tutorials is to have two screens open. If you have a second screen, that's probably the best way to do it. But if you are at a point right now where you just looking at one screen, that may just be where you're at. I think having two windows open so you can just sort of work back and forth makes sense. With that, we're going to build our first app. And you know what, I'm going to, the tutorial video is on Canvas, but I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to show you guys how to do this. And then you guys can, anyway, then you will build it, and then I'll show you how to submit it. And then I think most of the rest of the class will end up being work time for yourself. So I'm starting here. Is this, why can't I see? There we go. Okay, so I'm starting here on the My Projects. I logged into Thunkable. Oh, I'm sorry. Hayat, what's going on?
How do we know if we're part of the class or not? Like, I used the link or the code for the class, but afterwards it just looks the same.
Oh, so
But-
so are you asking for a class related to Thunkable?
No, I thought you gave us like a class code or something like that.
Yeah, that's for when you that's a code that will reduce the price of your pro account.
Oh, okay.
The good question. There's not there's not like a teacher dashboard feature on Thunkable. There is on code.org. The stuff that I sent you is related to how to get the student price for a Thunkable Pro account. So thank you for asking. That's important clarification. I'm going to show you how to build this first app. It's the text-to-speech app. There's a video, I believe it's on Canvas, and it's on the probably the website, my general curriculum site. I think it was linked to on Canvas, but you could also just watch me do it. So if I'm doing this, I'm going to create a new app here. Hopefully that's me. Come on. All right. I'm a little slow, so. Okay, so we got a new project. Oh, I had a new project. All right. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so my new project is I'm going to do text to speech, and it's all. My projects are public. You can make yours private if you choose. I don't bother categorizing them, so I'm just going to call this text to speech. I'll create it. Oh, I'm sorry, Ava. Question.
So I actually tried to make mine private, and my brother and I were kind of working it out to figure out Thunkable, but I realized that it didn't have like the same component options if I had it on private. So it needs to be on public if you want all of the different component options.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Okay. Wow. Thank you for letting us know that. I guess I need to play with that on my own. Thank you. Goodness, that's good insight. Thank you. And we're waiting here for this to get started. Okay, so I'm on screen one, and I want to build this text-to-speech app. And the goal of this app is when you click a button, it should speak to you. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag a button out. And it'd be nice if it worked. So what's going on here? Okay, so I've got my first button. I apologize, it's a bit laggy here. So I want to rename that. It's really good coding practice to give our components specific names. And that's because the bigger your app gets, you want to be able to reference things in a really like efficient way. And so it can be confusing if buttons are just button 1, 2, 3, and so on. So this is going to be my speech button. And when I click it, the app will speak some words. So it's click here, click to here, or how about just click here? It doesn't have to be anything too fancy. So I've got my first component. You can see it up here in the upper left. This is sort of our app tree, or otherwise known as our component tree. So I've added my first component, that's a button. And then I need the text to speech. So a fast way to find things, if you know what component you're looking for, is to type in the first word, and sort of the search feature will filter out. So I want this component here, it's text to speech. And this is what's called an invisible component, meaning that it won't show on the screen itself. Okay, so it'd be nice if it worked here. So I'm gonna pull this out. And it added, and for invisible components, it'll show up off. It will not be on the sort of screen facsimile here, it'll be below. So we have our screen one, the speech button, the text to speech. And I'm gonna go to the block screen. I'm gonna do some basic coding here. So what I want is when our speech button is clicked, so I'm on sort of this, I'm gonna call these like our menu, our button drawers, because you open them and see what's inside. So I'm opening this speech button drawer, and I want this first button, and it says when speech button clicked. So when the speech button is clicked, the app should do something. And so what I want it to do is I want it to speak. So I'm going to call this block, it's the text to speech block. So when the speech button is clicked, the text to speech component should speak. I'm going to set up, I can put some unique text. So welcome to CS 106, or how about welcome to class? Alrighty. So there's a couple ways I can test this. And I usually do this kind of fun thing where I can pull up what my phone looks like. There's an app, it's called Thunkable Live. I'm actually not going to show you this way, but the Thunkable Live app is worth putting on your phones. I think it's like a fun way to test the app because you can see what it would look like on your phone. There is also like an easy way to test, which is just clicking this live test button. And so you have the choice of testing it in sort of this, come back, please. You have the choice of testing it in, you can test it here. Oh, sorry. Or you can test it as a responsive web app, which is it'll mess up the user interface, but it should work just as well. All right, okay, I'm not gonna touch anything. Oh. Okay. All right. Try this one more time. Okay, so got my app that I can test out. If I click,
welcome to class,
it will speak to us. And so that's a very basic app. And I think this features, like I said, I think this is cool that you can test it in your browser. The ratio of the screen gets messed up, so the user interface will look funky, but you can also
welcome to class,
test it here if you so choose. So a couple ways you can test. I do think the Thunkable Live app is really cool. And if I can get the little trick to work so it'll pop up on my screen, I'll work on that right now. With that said, why don't you, okay, and then the last thing that's important about this is I just want to show you how to submit work. So say you build your app, you tested it out, it works to the specs, go back to the project page, and you should see the apps that you built. So something should pop up for us. And there's 3 dots here on the app. And what I want you to do is go to the project detail page. And what's cool about this is you again, it's another space where you could test the app directly in the browser. This is the URL I want you to submit. So I want you to go to the project detail pages. I know there's a couple share features. I think they're buggy. I think this is the smoothest way to do it. So what I want you to do is when you're ready to submit an app, go to the project detail page and copy this URL that in this case is up here. and then this is what you will submit on Canvas. So for each activity on or assignment on Canvas, I hopefully have correctly set it to submit a web URL, and this is what you will submit. And that way, when we're doing the grading, we can just click through. We can click on your app, and without getting too technical, we can figure out if it does the basic features or not. So that's how you would submit work. All right, let me walk through the next couple things here, and then it's just gonna be work time. All right, so there's 4 tutorials tonight. They're all pretty simple, and the idea is for you to get the basic, just the hang of what Thunkable coding in Thunkable looks like. So that was the text-to-speech app. I believe there's a tutorial that's connected on Canvas, and if you want the extra credit challenge, not a required challenge, an extra credit challenge is, can you add a text box so that whatever the user types in, that instead of like that set text, it would speak anything the user types in. So welcome to challenge yourself on that. If you want to work myself and Natalia, we can also show you how it works, but I challenge you to try to figure that one out. It's just basically playing with Thunkable. Showed you how to test the app, so we don't need to watch this again. Showed you how to submit work. So there's videos up on Canvas if you want to reference them, but it's just go to My Projects, you click on the 3 dots, you go to the project page, copy the URL for that. So 3 more tutorials tonight. There's a basic app that's going to be a translator app. So what's going to happen is a person will write something in, probably in English, and then it will translate to another language. You can set it to whatever language you want. You can also add in buttons as an extra credit challenge to let the user choose what language to translate to. Could be pretty cool. There's a random answer app. So I think what happens in this one, person asks, sort of like Magic 8 Ball, you ask a question, you press a button, and it should give you a random answer. And the challenge here is to add the accelerometer component, which will only work if you're using Thunkable Live. So it's the only real way you can test that one. And then the fourth tutorial tonight is image recognition. So you've probably seen this in other places. Actually, you've probably seen this a lot of places, which is, image recognition has come incredibly far. If you have a more recent iPhone, the face lock feature is like a very common application of image recognition, but without getting too technical about what's going on behind the scenes, very basic apps can recognize very complex images. And so your image, in this app, you will basically be able to point your device, and you can actually just use your webcam to do it as well, like common objects, and it should tell you exactly what the object is. So this is, that is a pretty, I can take time to explain the mechanics of that another class, but if you just want to see what a cool tool Thunkable is and how quickly you can build complex things, I hope that's what you get out of this one. And the very last thing you will do tonight in our time together is a basic scavenger hunt. And what this scavenger hunt is intended for you is to, again, you're just exploring Thunkable tonight so that you have an idea of what you can create, where things are, how things fit together at a basic enough level that we can start to build more complex things starting tomorrow. So imagine we'll go to it's a lesson on the same site. And so what you will do is you'll navigate here, and you don't have to bother. Actually, don't bother with these steps. What I want you to do is I want you to make a copy of the scavenger hunt handout, which should be around here somewhere. Okay, so the real simple way to do it is just to click here, be under step 3. You don't worry about steps 1 and 2, but I would say make a copy of the handout, change the share. Oh, it'll say make a copy, so you'll have an individual copy, and make sure you switch the share settings up here to anyone can view, so that Natalia and I can take a look at your work and just confirm that it was done. And so what you'll do is, okay, so you got to click the share setting. I'm sure you've done this a million times here in distance learning, but you'll click the share setting, you'll change it to anyone can view. Apologies again for this lag. I would assume someone is watching a lot of Netflix in this house and it's messing everything up. Oh goodness, that is really slow if we can't do the share. But anyway, if you don't know how to share, I'm happy to talk you through it. And so what you're going to do here is, these are like kind of a more involved tutorial where I want you to go through Thunkable in a scavenger hunt form, find things, explore things. So take a look at some different components, tell me what they do. You can if you can copy and paste it from Thunkable. I just want you to think about some different elements here. You can follow the videos. There's that same guy who did the intro did the videos that you can walk through. I don't think you need them necessarily, but they are there. Create a sample app and just start. It's asking you to pull out a couple different components so that you can just see what they look like. This element of renaming components, again, that's a really important thing to do. Just as coded practice so that you know what to reference. Let's see what else is here. Editing the properties. So that's on the right side of the design screen. So you can modify and edit, customize components. So you're doing some basic stuff here. It looks like some text modification. And then it'll take you to the block screen. So you get a chance to walk through some of the block elements to see where they live within Thunkable. And you'll do some basic block editing. And that's what the assignment is. So we technically have another 2.5 hours together. I'd be surprised if this took you more than an hour. Whenever you're done, you're welcome to go whenever. As I said, I understand that I'm sure people were zoomed out a long time ago. So, if you need to go, don't worry about it. I will be here as long as you are here. So if you want help, I am here. I know a couple of people mentioned that they wanted to work in groups. We'll get that started tomorrow. I think most of the stuff should be pretty straightforward on an individual level. Let me know if you need any help. Natalia is also here. We can set up, when people ask for help, we set up breakout rooms and you can work one-on-one with either of us. And yeah, so that's what's going on tonight. Let me just finish. I guess I'll just finish out with slides. You'll do the scavenger hunt. And yeah, just to reiterate, hopefully you've created a Thunkable account. You've done the intro survey, which I think everyone has done. There's 4 Thunkable tutorials. When you're done with the tutorial, go to the project page, or rather, the project page, click the 3 dots, go to the app project page, get that URL, that's what you're submitting, work through the scavenger hunt. There's an extra activity if you want more stuff for tonight. Something that we're going to do tomorrow is this, like as we get into more block coding, is the Blockly maze. It's under Canvas at 2.2. If you wanted more things to do tonight, that is what I suggest. With that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Natalia and I are here. Please let us know if you have any questions.
Okay, so we just basically do 1.1 to 1.8 on Canvas, and that will be sufficient.
Yeah, I hope that's clear.
For sure. Cool.